الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك، واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له، واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرساله وادى الامانه ونصح الامه وكشف الله به الغمه وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى اتاه اليقين. اللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الاسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن امته. اللهم احينا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته، واوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفه شربه هنيئه لا نظمأ بعدها ابدا. ثم اما بعد. Dear respected brothers and sisters, first of all I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our siyam, our qiyam, our ibadat in this blessed month, and we are so thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to experience another Ramadan. I don't usually talk about Islamic rulings in the khutbahs, but I just want to reflect quickly about the rulings of fasting. We all know that the ayat of fasting the month of Ramadan are only 4 ayat, covering one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Only 4 ayat. And I think there's a reason for that. The reason for us is to focus on the meaning of fasting and the objectives of fasting rather than fighting over Islamic rulings when it comes to fasting in the month of Ramadan. Fasting, the definition of fasting is very simple, very easy. Quran, as usual, makes very direct and simple commands. كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. The shape of fasting varied from one community to another. So the time of Maryam alayhi salam, according to Surah Maryam, when she came back to her people with the baby Jesus, peace be upon him, and they talked to her, who's this? And she pointed to them using the body language that I'm fasting from speaking. So that was kind of fasting. إِنَّ نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. Fasting at that time is not to speak. I think we need to try this. Although in the Sunnah of the Prophet, it is haram to fast from the whole day, not to say anything. That's not allowed, but we can practice this fasting for a few hours. It's not going to harm us. What harms us is to keep talking, speaking. But fasting in Islam is very simple, very simple. Abstaining from eating and drinking and intimate relations from Fajr to Maghrib with the niyyah. That's simple definition of fasting. However, so many questions come up. Not this break fasting. People talk about drawing blood, injections, IV insertion, and dental treatment, and so many swimming, taking shower. What breaks our fasting? What does not break our fasting? A lot of questions. Can we smell perfume while fasting? So if we smell perfume and we can see or feel it in our throat, would this break our fasting? And so many questions of this nature. The new questions, or the one particular thing that I want to talk about, is smoking. Smoking actually takes now very different shapes or styles. Smoking in the old days, if you read modern and old books, you will find that many scholars said it's makruh, and makruh means it is detested, it is disliked. It's not haram, but it's better not to. And this was before discovering the very harmful effect of fasting. And now all modern scholars, they say absolutely smoking is haram. Why? Because it hurts you, it hurts the environment, and those who are inhaling this smoking, we call it second-hand smoking. And the Prophet ﷺ said anything that harms you or harms others is prohibited. That's a very general ruling. Some rulings are specific, some are very general. This is one of the general rulings. Anything that harms you is prohibited. But now people talk about argila and talk about the e-cigarette, and now we have that vaping. Very popular among the teens in particular. They think it's cool, it's nice, and our misconception is that it's not as harmful as smoking. In fact, they claim that it can help you quit smoking. And that's a misconception. That's not true. It may help those who smoke cigarette to quit smoking. That's possibility. But it is harmful, and it is also prohibited. And now some actually try to legitimize smoking, and they say it does not, smoking does not break your fasting. And why is that? Because like when you smell, any smoke in the street, right? So it's not food, it's not a drink, but that's nonsense. That's nonsense. It is an intentional take or consuming a substance that comes into your body. So it does break our fasting. And I think we need to talk more to our youth about this vaping, because it looks like cool, and they compete in who can make better shape of the smoke, and so on and so forth. We need to talk to our youth about this. It breaks our fasting, and it's haram because it is harmful. The second point I want to quickly touch upon, a question that comes all the time: how about our children? At what age we should ask our children to fast? We have teachers visiting our masjid the past few days, and they asked about this kind of question: who should fast and who should not fast? How old our children should be when they should start fasting? In fact, the general ruling here is that all ibadat, all obligations in Islam, are due when children attain the age of puberty. That's the legal age. And the age of puberty varies from one child to another, as we all know. Right? However, when it comes to fasting, our ulama talked about this point. Before we get into the saying of the ulama, there's a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. One of the female sahabiya, her name is Rubayya bint Muawwidh. She said that when Ashura, the day of Ashura, was announced as a day of fasting, she said that we used to order our youngsters to fast, and we make for them dolls made or stuffed with cotton. And we take them to the masjid, and they play around and they wait for Maghrib, and sometimes when they get like really hungry, thirsty, we give them these dolls so they play with until Maghrib comes. Now, from a medical perspective, some can argue that fasting could be harmful for our children. They are still weak, they are developing, and their body needs to be nurtured, and so on and so forth. And one of the things that I want to emphasize is that every child is different. And children who grew up in Africa in very hot environment is different from those who grew up in North America or in Europe. It depends on the ability of the child. Some ulama, including Imam Shafi'i, and Hassan, Ibn Sirin, Qatada, and others, they said that it depends on the ability of the child. If a child is strong enough and he can really fast, and especially when the day is not that long, it's not that hot, then they should be asked to fast. So generally speaking, fasting should not harm our children. But according to the hadith of Rubayya bint Muawwidh and others, some ulama actually made the analogy of praying in the famous hadith, Ibn Majah and others, Abu Dawood. The Prophet ﷺ said that order your children to pray when they're 7, right? But don't be so strict about it. But at the age of 10, if they miss their prayer, then you should start disciplining them. Let them know that's serious business. You have to take care of your prayer. So between 7 and 10, don't pressure so hard. But when they attain the age of 10, then you should discipline them if they intentionally miss their prayers. Why is that? If they are responsible to pray when they attain the age of puberty, average 13, 14, 15, again, it varies from one child to another. So the Rasulullah ﷺ actually want to bring to our attention something beyond the ruling, beyond the ahkam. That we have to train our children before they attain this age to practice salah, to understand the importance of salah, to get used to pray on time. Yes, Technically, they don't have to pray, but Rasulullah ﷺ tells us that you should train them to pray. You should discipline them if they don't pray. And similarly, when it comes to fasting, many ulama actually made an analogy, and they said the age of 10 is perhaps the age when we should ask our children to fast. Some parents actually, they introduce this gradual fasting. So they fast from Asr to Maghrib when they are young, and then when they grow older, it's from Dhuhr to Maghrib, and then they help them to fast the whole day. And that's also fine. We don't want to harm our children, obviously, and we don't also at the same time want them to be 15 and they experience fasting at the age of 15. It may be very difficult for them. They may not be able to make it. And this also is similar to other ahkam like fasting and for the girls wearing hijab and so on and so forth. We should start before we reach the start point. And also importantly, fasting also have a lot to do with our children's identity. Especially those who go to middle school and high school when at the lunch time. When they actually people ask them, why don't you eat? It's because I'm fasting. They should be proud of who they are, and then their peers will ask them, what's fasting? They'll explain to them. And some of them actually stay with their peers at the lunchtime at school. Everybody's eating, and he or she are the only ones who are not eating. And I think that there's a lot of benefit of this. Because our children, we all know about peer pressure. They like to be like others. They like to do what others are doing. But fasting, in fact, is an excellent opportunity for our kids to know that we don't simply do what others do. We don't do things because others are doing it. Because we are Muslims. This is who we are. And then they will see their peers doing obviously wrong things like smoking and taking drugs and so on and so forth. And they will be able to say, no, we cannot do that because we are Muslims. In fact, in one of these meetings we have with teachers, our school districts here, she asked actually these specific questions. Why should we do as teachers or not Muslims? What should we do when we know that our Muslim kids are fasting? And one of the young Muslim boys there said that it would be great if you can provide a private space or a place in the library for those who are fasting to stay in the library instead of staying in the cafeteria. This is another option. But we have to negotiate our space in this country. How to be faithful to our deen, our principles, and at the same time not breaking any laws. Many parents are so scared that if my son or daughter fasts, then they will not do well, in academic work. Their grade will go down. They cannot compete with other children. We are living in a society based on competition, a built based on competition. And that should not be a concern. If we think this way, what else we can give up? Can we perform well academically and fast? I think we can. It takes some arrangement, some effort, some talk to our children. And inshallah they will do better. They can do better. And this reminds me of the Muslim athletes who are playing in the multi-billion-dollar competitions, NBA and soccer and so on and so forth. Many Muslim players or athletes, they insisted in fasting while playing. And most of them, they perform very well while fasting. So it's a mindset. We need to set our mind that fasting is not harmful. We should not lose. Ramadan is not a burden. We should not lose or misperform because we are fasting. We can do it with some adjustment of our sleeping and our work schedule. We can do it. And this is the kind of spirit we want to instill in our children. We can do it. Ramadan teaches us that we are strong. Ramadan helps us to discover the tremendous power and energy we have. We should raise our children as tough children. Not tough in the sense that they should be tough in others, but they should be strong, physically and spiritually and intellectually. Imam Ghazali, if you read about Imam Ghazali's opinion, you'll be surprised in how we spoil our children. Imam Ghazali said that we should raise our children as strong people. We should not make their bed very comfortable, he says. Right? I hope our youth here will not hate me for this. This is what Imam Ghazali said. Right? Don't make their life extremely easy. In fact, kings and sultans and caliphs, they used to send their youngsters for weeks and months in the desert to grow up with the Bedouins. To get used to the tough life. And this makes them stronger, not weaker. Imagine when a king sent his son to stay for months with Bedouins. It's narrated that one of these kings sent his son just to make him strong, and his son was very spoiled. He's a young prince, whatever he needs is available. And he sent him to this Bedouin guy who has like 10 children, living in the middle of nowhere, but they got adapted to this lifestyle. And the children there are very strong, very powerful. Remember, Rasulullah spent the first years of his life with Amin al-Sa'diyya, far away from Mecca, the city, far away from his family, to be dependent, to be strong. That was the custom back then. Even a wealthy, very wealthy families, kings and caliphs, they send their children. So he sent his son, and he told this Bedouin guy to take care of my son. I want him to be tough and strong. And he says, don't worry about him. He will be fine. And this young prince is not used to this kind of lifestyle. And in the food time, this man calls upon everybody, so they come and eat in one big like tray. They put the food there, and all kids come and they eat. This is a lifestyle. You don't know any better. So the young prince, of course, when he saw that everybody is rushing to this meal and everybody eats, and in a minute or two the food is gone. And he did not touch the food, of course. This is not the way he eats in his palace, his father's palace. And the next time, the same thing happened. And a day or two passed by, this young poor prince did not eat anything. And then a few days passed by, and the king came to take a look from far away to see how his son is doing. And he saw this man calling everybody, food time, and the prince was the first one to go there. And his father was kind of surprised. He was happy that his son is now tough and strong. And he asked this, but what did he do? He said, I've done nothing. He was hungry for the first 2 days, and then he figured out that he has to come and eat like we eat. So the point I want to say, I'm not suggesting, by the way, that you do this to your children. The point I want to make is that our children are not that weak. They are strong. They are tough. Consult your doctor. But talk to them about fasting and how important it is to say no. To see people doing something and you say, no, I'm not going to do it because I'm not supposed to. This will give them the energy and the power, intellectual power and spiritual power to resist what others are doing when they're doing something wrong. So, brothers and sisters, again, there's no particular age or time that when we should ask our children to fast, but they should be familiar with the fasting. Another important point is that we should teach our children why. We always talk about how, right? What we should do. But we rarely talk to them about why we are fasting. And believe me, when you just have a simple discussion with them, you will find out that they have brilliant ideas. They can come up with very good ideas. Why we are fasting? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to fast? Although it may be difficult, some difficulties associated with it. But as our ulama said, that the difficulty is not the objective. The goal is not for us to, go through this difficulty. The goal is way beyond this. It's way beyond this difficulty. It's about understanding who we are and the mission or the goal of our life, the purpose of our life. So brothers and sisters, we need to talk to our children about fasting and encourage them to fast. Partial or full fasting, it depends on the age and the ability. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله اتقوا الله وأطيعوه إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك رزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا واصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا واصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث وأصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا إلى أحد من الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. Let's pray to our brothers and sisters in Palestine, especially in Gaza, those who have been killed by the Israeli occupation, killing these innocent civilian people. Let's pray for them and for the shuhada and for those who have been injured and their families. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them patience. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove this aggression from them. اللهم انصرهم على من عاداهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأقم الصلاة.